everybody, what is up? My name is Liam Angel, aka Straight Shooting LJA, and welcome to another E-Bikes opinion piece. Now, in this opinion piece, I'd like to just go through a bit of recent news. Bit of interesting recent news. Just going to read this quickly from londonworld.com. Transport for London has launched 10 new low traffic cycleways across the capital, making it easier and safer for Londoners to travel around the capital by bicycle. The new routes, which include a 10-kilometre route in Enfield, are the latest additions to a series that mainly use new low traffic local streets, with 3 cycleways launched earlier this year in March. The scheme means 550,000 more Londoners are within 400 metres of the cycleway network that will connect out at London town centres such as Walthamstow, Ilford, Barking and Barnes to London's growing cycleway network. So the new routes, Cycleway 1 is Freezy Water to Tottenham, connecting Cycleway 21 and the wider Enfield cycle network. Cycleway 16, which is Wanstead Flats to the Olympic Park, connecting into Waltham Forest, expanding cycleway routes. Walthamstow Wetlands to Wood Street is Cycleway 24 and will connect the proposed Cycleway 26, which will connect towards Stratford and the Olympic Park. Hammersmith to Fulham will be Cycleway 34, connected to Cycleway 9. Finsbury Park to Angel will be Cycleway 38, which will connect to Cycleway 50, which is currently under construction in Islington. Cycleway 42, Ilford to Barking Riverside, connecting more than 60,000 residents to high-quality cycling infrastructure and connecting Barking stations. Hammersmith Bridge to Barnes, connecting Cycleway 9 is Cycleway 57. Embankment to Euston is Cycleway 10, connecting Cycleway 3 and the wider central London cycle network. There is also a cycleway at Battersea Power Station and Nine Elms, connecting to Cycleway 5. And Kentish Town to Gospel Oak will connect into the wider Camden cycle network. So the new routes have been delivered alongside the existing programme to build new walking and cycling infrastructure, with segregated cycle lanes at Old Street now complete. I was actually down there recently. It's pretty cool around the Shoreditch Triangle area. TFL has also decided to retain the changes made at Park Lane permanently, which is where I was going to go as well. The scheme saw the introduction of a new bi-directional segregated cycle lane and bus lane on the north side of Park Lane. TFL said it's used for 2,400 cycle trips a day and has reduced the number of cyclists using a nearby parallel route within Hyde Park, where there is a risk of colliding with pedestrians. So, TFL and London boroughs have more than tripled the size of the London-wide strategic cycle network from 90 kilometres in 2016 to more than 340 kilometres in 2022, meaning more than 1 in 5 Londoners now live near the cycleway network. You know what? I really do like this, and I like this for a number of reasons. Number one, it's improving the cycling infrastructure in London. And London is an extremely densely populated city, probably the most densely populated city in the UK. And it's densely populated in a very small space. So in terms of motorists, you've got a lot of motorists on the roads, which obviously with ULEZ, congestion charges and stuff like that, especially in central London, and kind of widening out recently, and also widening out even more in August of 2022 when the ULEZ expansion hits, it's going to be a case of more people might be, and hopefully will be, switching to more greener methods of transport, such as electric bikes and the like. So, and I'm not just saying that because we at E-Bikes stock electric bikes. I'm genuinely hopeful of getting those carbon emissions down, getting London's air cleaner by people switching to more greener modes of transport. Electric cars, for instance, will be crucial in that. But improving the cycling infrastructure in London is something I've hoped for a long, long time. And I've been cycling for over 25 years myself. I cycled cross city at like 9-10 years old back in Oxford when I was that young. So it's one of them where, for me, cycling cross city and cycling around London has never been too bad. I've never been intimidated by it. But there are a lot of people who I've spoken to who have been intimidated by cycling, maybe not even cross city in terms of London. There are a lot of people who want to cycle, but have always been like, oh, well, there's not enough cycle paths. It's not really safe for me and things like that. So improving the cycling infrastructure is absolutely critical to getting more people into cycling. And I believe that it can only be a good thing. There may be some motorists complaining about it, saying, oh, well, there's already enough congestion on the road without segregating a third or a quarter of the road. But that's what things like this, improving the cycling infrastructure, is trying to steer away from. It's trying to steer away from congestion on the roads and get more people comfortable cycling and cycling in more safer surroundings. And also as well, there was the mention of Hyde Park and Park Lane, making that bi-directional cycle path actually permanent. And there are cycle paths in Hyde Park, but there is a massive chance, especially during the summer months, of colliding with pedestrians. So if you can move that cycle path outside, it's safer for everyone. So for me, the pros more than outweigh the cons. And I'm not just saying it as a cyclist. It's a case of general safety. So you've got safety of pedestrians to bear in mind. You've got safety of cyclists to bear in mind as well. And I think increasing the infrastructure makes it so that cyclists have a clearly delineated path that they can cycle down that's for them, that is safe for them, that you won't hopefully get encroachment on that by motorists. Every now and then you will get an idiot. You will get a moron in terms of a motorist who will cross into that and put everybody in danger. But hopefully you reduce that likelihood by having the segregated area for cyclists that can go both directions. I mean, cycling is quicker, healthier than sitting in traffic each and every day, especially if you're working a more sedentary job in an office, for instance. So it is in everybody's best interest to have these safe cycleways and have these safe cycleways everywhere to keep pedestrians safe, cyclists safe, and also motorists safe as well, because it keeps motorists safe from being part of accidents, and also in theory will keep your insurance down because you're not going to be involved in as many accidents. So there are a lot more pros than cons in that regard, in my opinion. So I definitely am an advocate, and I'm glad that TFL are taking these steps. And it is one of them where there's still obviously a lot more work to do. And I think there also has to be an education on both sides. Now, I've spoken before about cycling proficiency and educating motorists after the Timmy Mallet-Richard Maley debate as well, along with the CEO of Fair Fuel. But there needs to be an education on both sides. Now, cyclists need to know where these paths are and be able to adhere to them. And also motorists need to know, do not encroach on those paths and be careful when you're crossing over those paths, because some of those cycle paths will have roads that kind of split in between them at a junction and that kind of thing. So there's got to be an education and a respect on both sides, and also pedestrians as well. Everybody needs to realign their thinking, because some pedestrians will, and I've experienced this, just willy-nilly step into a cycle lane without looking, and then look at the cyclist like they're the bad guy, and it's like, well, you should have been looking. The amount of times I've had a pedestrian step into a cycle lane without looking, and I'm ringing my bell, I've got a bell on my bike, and it's like, you're ringing your bell and they're not listening, or they're not looking, or they're halfway into the cycle lane and you're having to swerve to dodge them. And bear in mind, these lanes are not massive. So if I'm having to swerve into the opposite lane, and if someone's coming, that's a danger. So there has to be an education on all three sides, cyclists, motorists, pedestrians, as to where these cycleways are and how they're used. And I'm hoping that more of these cycle lanes are, I'm hoping that they're next to the roads, next to the driving lanes, as opposed to having the pavement here on the left, then immediately next to it the cycle lane, then a bus stop, and then that doesn't work. Because if you're coming up the inside and the bus stop is there, you got to cross the cycle path to get to the bus stop. It's like, no, that doesn't work. For me, that doesn't work. I've seen those in Balham. I've seen those in a number of places in central London, especially down cycle super highways. And it's like, no, I don't think that's the way it needs to be done. So safety is paramount on both sides. But as said, also, there needs to be an education. There very much needs to be. So let's hope that education is forthcoming along with the announcements, because I said there's a lot of these announcements and some people are up in arms about it. But I think there's a lack of understanding as well, where people think, oh, cyclists, oh, they're entitled, oh, they're this, they're that, oh, they're getting all these lanes to themselves. And it's like, no, this is done for safety. It's not a publicity stunt. It's not a gimmick. It's being done for safety. So that's where I lie on that. But you know what? I want to know your views. YouTube.com/@LEBikes, @LEBikes on Twitter, LEBikes LTD on Instagram. We're also on Facebook as well. We're on TikTok too, as LEBikes. Search for us, find us, see what we're up to. We're on Snapchat as well. We're in so many different places where you can find us. You can find out about the Bafang motor kits that we have, the long-range batteries that we have. We've got engwe bikes. We've got himiway brand bikes as well. They're long-range electric bikes. We've got so much on the website, which is lebikes.co.uk. If you want to get in touch via email, lebikesltd@gmail.com. We'd love to know your views. What do you think about the new cycling infrastructure that has recently been announced and is starting to be kind of appearing in London? Park Lane, Hammersmith, among other places. What do you think? Do you think there's a lot more work to be done in terms of cycling infrastructure in London? Do you feel safe cycling in London? Do you feel safer cycling in London now that these bits of infrastructure are starting to pop up in more and more places? Has your local area been affected by the introduction of these new cycle paths connecting the wider cycle networks, such as Enfield, Walthamstow, and also Nine Elms and Battersea? What are your views? lebikes.co.uk is our website, and as I said, get in touch with us via the socials. We're on, as I said, Facebook, Twitter, Instagram, and everywhere else. I have been Liam Angel, aka Straight Shooting LJA, and until next time, take care. And this has been another LE Bikes opinion piece. Thanks for your time, people.